Hi, Doug.
Good morning.
You
Can you
okay?
hear me? Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
All good. Mm.
We've had a couple of people pull out.
Okay.
So if you do happen to overrun a little bit, not a big
Not the
deal.
end of the world. I'm more than likely to rattle through it in my excitement, but time for questions then.
Yeah.
How's life treating you?
All right. It's just the ongoing legacy of consumer duty and the additional workload that is now placing on us
Mm,
is considerable.
mm,
Um, I would go as far as saying that it's if it hasn't already, it's going to change the landscape of advisor world.
right.
I think it's going. My view is that it will shrink the amount of numbers, the numbers of people that every advisor can deal with. I'm
Yeah.
not sure AI can deal with the annual review piece. It's just that's a human. It's got to be if it's
Mm-hmm.
happening.
Mm-hmm.
You can build all sorts of tech, which I have in-house to speed up the process. I've got my own little app to do the questions for an annual review that produces a Word document afterwards, which is the meeting notes, and also automatically writes the email.
Mm-hmm.
So it can do that bit quickly, but you cannot short circuit a meeting that might be 90 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Might be. They're not all that, obviously.
No.
Uh, but because I've had annual review meetings that last 5 minutes,
Yeah.
we've all had them.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then others for 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. But the
Uh,
2 hour ones tend to, you know, keep the AUM sticky and keep or develop new opportunities, don't they?
yeah. I think we've got an 80-20 thing going on. About 20% of clients are really fully engaged, and the other 80% are just happy that somebody's looking after them
Yeah.
and don't really have a massive expectation other than the fact they don't want to be cast adrift.
Hmm.
If you said to 80% of your clients, you're out on your own now because of regulations, um, they would be horrified.
Yeah.
They'd be scrabbling to find somebody or an organization that they felt was giving them some kind of personal touch.
Hmm.
We can't all be Hargreaves Lansdown customers, can we?
No. No. No.
Although Hargreaves Lansdown probably love consumer duty because it's probably driven more people to them.
Yeah.
Um, there was a Lancat report the other week. Pre consumer duty, 11% of the population had a financial advisor. It's already now 9%. Um, and I think when we hit the 3 year mark of, the end of 3 years of consumer duty, so August next year, I think some firms will have no choice but to disengage at that point if if they haven't had a meaningful annual review.
Mm.
So I think there'll be an even bigger drop at that point.
Hmm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so anyway, I'm gonna start letting people in now.
At least somebody coming.
Yeah.
I'm not delivering just to you.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Len.
Back here in the cold, having spent 2 months in Australia, which was really good.
Mm-hmm.
We went for my granddaughter's wedding, which was really worthwhile going for. So,
Good.
yeah.
Morning.
Hi, Ian.
Morning. Everyone well?
Yeah. And you?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Morning all.
Morning.
Everyone well?
What about you?
Good stuff. I thought you were meant to be in Cape Town, Martin.
Jerry, I'll leave for Cape Town tomorrow.
Oh, good man. And when do we expect you back? We are expecting you back, I take it.
Not until 15th of December. So I'm going for 5 weeks.
That is quite a mission. Well done.
Certainly is.
Is that a holiday, Martin?
Kind of. I'm sailing from South Africa to Western Australia.
Wow.
You're
Fantastic.
racing, aren't you? Not just sailing.
Racing, yes, race, yeah.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
How long are you in Cape Town for?
1 week.
Okay.
Sarah from
Morning,
New
all.
Zealand.
Morning, Sarah.
Sarah, intrepid New Yorker explorer.
Yeah.
I think Sarah's got a bit of a problem joining, Gary, if you're wondering why she's not speaking to you.
Oh, right.
Don't blame me on speaking to him, to be fair.
Morning, Craig.
Morning, buddy. All right.
Now I'm working. Morning, everyone.
Morning, Sarah.
Morning, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Who keeps letting
Gonna
these
have-
bloody Kiwis in? Flipping, eh?
Yeah, you're gonna have a great day.
They're everywhere.
Craig, are you in a cell?
You're not the first person to say that, mate. No, it's a little sound, sort of semi-soundproof booth that we picked up when we did an office refurb.
He needs to be in the cell, Batters.
Hello, Gary. How you doing? You all right?
How we doing?
Mate, I'm in a McDonald's.
How are you?
Well, so
Oh,
you're in the
okay.
cell then?
Healthy
Yeah,
breakfast.
I'm going.
Really?
Well, I'm going
Batters.
fishing today. Hello, who's that? Sharon?
Batters is Craig here. At least you're honest about it. Gary Metcalf's pretending he's been to the gym. I mean, no one's
Gary
buying
was
that,
in-
are they? Let's be honest.
This is the latest update.
Morning,
Gary
Craig.
was in central London.
Start to the day.
Knob.
Breaks of rain up towards the northwest.
Nice of someone to bring the radio in with them.
Is of Scotland. Then we've got this
Yeah.
rain down towards you. So that's going to break up and become very showery in nature as it makes its way north.
Right, good morning, everybody. It's the 6th of November, and this will be my last MDRT Zoom morning coffee catch-up of 2025. As some of you will know, that I am heading off to the Southern Oceans to compete in the Round the World Yacht Race, so I'm going to be gone for 5 weeks. I will be handing over to the very capable hands of my committee. No shout outs, they are all absolutely awesome, and they're going to put on a great Christmas Zoom for you before I get back. So without further ado, we have a interesting lineup today. We have changed it slightly because we've got a very extra special piece that we're going to drop in for you. It is being recorded, so don't worry if you've got to leave the meeting, we'll be able to play it back to you. So first thing this morning, we've got for around 20 minutes, and I hope he's ready. We've got the incredible Doug Bennett, who's been running his own podcast for longer than I care to remember. And he's used that as a mechanism to elevate his status as an advisor. And I'm sure he's going to tell us all how he's doing it and how it brings in additional revenue to his business. So without further ado, Doug, over to you.
Well, thank you for that, Martin. I have prepared a little talk, as you would anticipate. So if you bear with me while I set that up. And it's all about storytelling, really. You know, I'm going to weave in the bit about the podcast and other aspects of things which I think elevate me as an advisor just in the eyes of potential clients. So I'd like you to imagine this for a moment. I'm on my Harley Davidson Pan America, cruising down the Autobahn in Germany. It's a beautiful day. The bike is purring. And then I'm not on the bike anymore. I'm bouncing at 95 miles an hour across the tarmac. I'm breaking bones, losing skin. I'm thinking this is probably not how the brochure for Harley intended me to ride. But eventually I came to a stop. I lie there staring at the sky, and I have two thoughts. One, this really hurts. Two, I'm alive. And if I'm alive, I've got another chance. Another chance to rebuild, to reinvent, and to go again. I remember a paramedic looking down at me. He said something in German. I didn't understand a word, but his tone told me everything. That was the moment I realized something I now live by. E plus R equals O. The event happens. Your response determines the outcome. I couldn't change the accident, but I could change what I did with it. And that moment taught me something I'll share with you today. Setbacks aren't dead ends. They're speed bumps.
Put him on mute, Matt.
Trying to.
Okay. So that moment taught me something I'll share with you today. Setbacks aren't dead ends. They're just speed bumps. They slow you down. They wake you up. And then they let you carry on. And here, in our industry, the crowded world of financial advisors, although I was talking to Martin, it looks like it's going to be diminishing as Consumer Duty hits over the next year or so. But as financial advisors, we hit speed bumps every day. And the question is, what do you do with them? Do you stop, or do you use them to make yourself the obvious choice? Because let's be honest, on paper, most of us look exactly the same. We've all got qualifications, designations, client reviews. Some of us, Martin, Jerry, even have the same haircuts. Clients don't choose us because of the letters after our name. They choose us because of the stories we tell and the stories they believe about us. And here's the irony. The stories that connect most powerfully aren't the polished brochure-ready ones. They're the messy ones, the human ones. So when I share my prostate cancer scare, people don't look away, they lean in. When I talk about my divorce, they don't judge, they nod. When I write about my near bankruptcy in 2010, they don't pity me, they relate. So every time I share something real on LinkedIn, not a sales pitch, not a shiny advert, just a real slice of life, engagement goes through the roof. People message me saying, Doug, I feel the same. Or, Doug, thank you for saying that out loud. So one post I wrote about walking away from a 23-year marriage had 10 times the engagement of any technical financial planning piece I've ever written. Why? Because it was raw, it was human, and it showed that even advisors, the ones supposed to have it all together, go through the same challenges as everyone else. Now here's a golden nugget. People may forget your advice, but they'll never forget how your story made them feel. And that's the foundation of your personal brand. Not what you know, not what you sell, but how you make people feel through the stories you share. So I want to ask you, how many of you have shared a personal story on LinkedIn this year? You know, hands up, be honest. You know, see, that's the opportunity, because while most advisors are sharing market updates and tax changes, the ones who dare to be human stand out like a lighthouse in the fog. Now, when I launched the Goals Do Come True podcast over 4 years ago, I didn't expect much. To be honest, I thought it would be me, a microphone, and maybe my sister listening, and Sarah Bluxham. I can always rely on Sarah to be listening in on things. One of my biggest supporters, and I thank you for that, Sarah. But fast forward to now, we've recorded over 225 episodes, and it's in the top 5% globally. Now, that's not bad for a bloke who still occasionally forgets to press record. But here's the real magic. Podcasting isn't about downloads. It's about credibility. Every guest you invite is an opportunity to borrow credibility until you build your own. One of my favorite nuggets came from a guy I interviewed, Dave Roberts. He said, consistency beats intensity. A small step every day will take you further than a sprint once a year. And because I was the one having the conversation, my credibility rose by association. And isn't that true in our profession? Clients don't need us to be spectacular once. They need us to be consistent always. Another guest, Joseph Sale, said to me, a goal is just a dream with a deadline, but the real magic is who you become while you're chasing it. I couldn't have written that better myself. And Sam Raffling, a LinkedIn expert, told me, if your goals don't scare you a little, they're probably not big enough to change your life. So do you see what's happening? I'm not just interviewing people, I'm curating wisdom. And in the process, I get to borrow some of their credibility. Another guest messaged me afterwards and said, Doug, that was one of the most thoughtful interviews I've done. So suddenly I wasn't just another advisor, I was a peer, a thought partner. And when people see you as a peer to industry leaders, clients take notice. So here's another golden nugget for you. Podcasting is networking that scales. It turns one conversation into global credibility. Now, how many of you in this room have thought about starting a podcast? Put your hands up. Thought about it? Obviously, I can't see the vast majority of you because you haven't got your videos on, but keep your hands up if you've actually done it. Okay. That's why there's still space for you to stand out. So if a guy who once crashed his Harley at 95 miles an hour can run a top 5% podcast, so can you. So let's talk about books as well, because it's all about authority. And a few years ago, I published Think Simple, Win Big, How to Build the Business of Your Dreams with a Few Simple Goals. Writing it nearly finished me off. I discovered that every writer's favorite activity is procrastination. But here's what I also discovered. A book is a business card that never gets thrown away. I can buy copies for £2.50 and I give them out when I'm at networking events. And it's like, it beats the, link to the LinkedIn profile. But people put it on their shelves, they carry it on planes and they lend it to friends. And a book travels further than you ever will. And it works quietly, even when you're asleep. So people read my book and then they get in touch. And they feel like they already know me. And that's the power of publishing. Now, the books, just by handing them out, they tend to open doors, right? And these are doors I could never have knocked on myself. Now, I'm working on my next one, Golden Nuggets of Goal Setting. 150 nuggets collected from conversations with achievers all over the world. Each one simple, actionable, and memorable. So one nugget that stands out, clarity beats complexity every time. We advisors love to overcomplicate things, but clarity in goals, in advice, in branding is what people remember. So publishing isn't just about telling your story. It's about planting a flag in the ground. It says, this is my space. I own it. So let's connect the dots here. Storytelling makes you human. Podcasting makes you credible. Publishing makes you an authority. Put those things together and you stop being one of many and start being the obvious choice. And here's the funny thing. It doesn't even require you to shout louder than everyone else. It just requires you to be consistently visible, consistently relatable, and consistently remembered. One of the new recent clients that I took on came to me after reading a LinkedIn post where I talked about my divorce. I mean, that's not exactly a sales pitch, but she said, Doug, if you can be that honest in public, I can trust you with my money. And that's when it clicked. Your story isn't just your brand. Your story is your strategy. So here's my challenge to you. Don't wait until you've got the perfect logo or the slickest website or the fanciest marketing funnel. Start with your story. Share it on LinkedIn. Record a podcast. Make sure if you start on the podcast thing that you're going to get past the 7. 7 is the crucial number. If you get more than 7 episodes, there's an outside chance it's going to be a runner. But write that blog post. Draft the first book of, the first chapter of your book. And add your nuggets of wisdom along the way. Because we're all, we've all learned stuff along the way from each other. We've had ideas. If I get an idea and I share it with you and you get an idea and you share it with me, sometimes we can come up with a third idea, which is, a combination. And it's even more powerful. Your clients, your peers, your future opportunities, they're not looking for the advisor with the most technical jargon or the neatest pie chart or the greatest PowerPoint. I haven't used one today, you might know. But they're looking for the advisor who's real, relatable, and ready. So think of your own story. What's the one experience, maybe the painful one, that shaped who you are today? That's the story people want to hear. That's what makes you unforgettable. So I'll leave you with this. Setbacks are speed bumps, not dead ends. Your story is your brand. And if you tell it well, you won't just be heard, you'll be remembered. Thank you very much. Now available for questions. If anybody's got any questions on podcasts, books, or anything like that, I've got a few minutes for that sort of thing. Hope that gives you a bit of an insight.
Doug, thank you. Thought-provoking as usual. How did you get started doing a podcast? What did you buy kit? You got a studio? How does one do it if they're going to dive into this world of podcasting?
Well, if you go back to my first ever podcast, it was with David Braithwaite, and I did it on my iPhone with just a little. There were three of us on our iPhones because I was a bit nervous. So the girl that helped me get started, Georgia Kirk, she was in there. Then we, cut her out and all the rest of it. So you can get started, quite easily. I now have just a studio behind me. The wall is painted green so that I can, change my backdrops to suit whatever scenario I'm in. So if I'm doing a podcast episode, I just change the background. This is my one for general stuff, and then should have started with this one, really, shouldn't I?
Probably should, yeah.
Probably should have done.
I've got
anyway.
one more question for you, Doug.
Yeah.
I think this is probably on everybody's mind if they've ever thought about doing a podcast. How do you know what you're going to talk about?
It's a good question. I mean, there's so many different things that you can talk about. I decided that I was going to interview people about their goals and their goal setting. So I've got 225 episodes of me interviewing people about their goals, how they achieve them, the different ways, what methodologies they used, what their big, hairy, audacious goals are. But so you can interview it. You can do an interview-based one. I do occasional solo episodes, but I think it's probably going to be a bit easier now with AI to get your juices going.
Yeah.
Because we've all got lots and lots of ideas. Okay. I need. Sorry.
John. Morning, John. By the way,
Morning,
John's asked a
John.
question. Could Doug supply a kit list of what he uses out to carry out and produce the podcast? Well, it's an iPhone. We know that much.
Not anymore. Not anymore. Yes, certainly. I could do that.
If you share that with me, Doug, we can make sure it goes out.
Just if I can add something just before you finish and move on to the next topic, just about Doug's books. So the first book was about people that had talked and referred to people who'd been in the podcast. And then Doug came up with the great idea of the second book wasn't actually for advisors. It was about people for businesses, right, Doug?
Yeah.
Which was then more aimed at your general prospect who could be a client. But it was the first book rewritten, really, wasn't it? With a different target market. So a book can be redone. It doesn't have to be totally rewritten with the same thing, but with a different angle, right? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, basically goals do come true, which is the name of my podcast, just in case anybody does want to listen. I wouldn't mind another 150 subscribers or however many people there are on the thing. But goals do come true was my book for my peers within financial services.
And then a bit later you redid it, right?
Yeah.
Just before we move on, because we need to make sure we finish by 9. Dan has asked the question, and I can resonate with this, Doug. Do you find a lot of people don't even know what their goals are? You have to drag that out of them, Doug, sometimes.
Oh, no, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, only 8% of the global population have goals. And spookily, it's like 8% of the population seem to be the richest in the world. So I don't know if there's any direct correlation to that, but the thing is you need to have some direction, otherwise you just become a wandering generality rather than a meaningful specific. So get some goals, yeah. But just write them down daily. Well,
Thank you very much, Doug. We'll move on from there.
Goals book from
much
there we go.
appreciated,
Thank
Doug.
you.
So moving on, we just switch it up a little bit here now. Not that that was a dry piece, but we're going to bring some energy to the room now. And this is the extra insert bit, so a little bit of a warning for the person that's delivering. This is an additional bonus for today. Very, very topical subject at the moment, AI. It is moving so fast. And I don't know about any of you guys, but I've got AI all over my inside of my business now, helping me. So we've got Craig Palfrey, fresh back from Scottsdale, Arizona, who is going to give us a short 10-minute or so update on what he sees is going on in the AI space at the moment.
Yeah, morning all. Cheers for that, Art. So we had a couple of pullouts from the original plan. So I'd put this together on the back of the conference for I'm speaking at the PFS Officers Conference next week, because someone on this call, Carla, suggested to the PFS board that I was some kind of AI expert. I would suggest I am not. What I am, as most of you know, is an idea copier. So my goal today is to share some stuff. Bear in mind it was written for a different audience to help you get some time back, not by working harder, but by thinking differently. So come on, slides, keep up. First time I've used these, come on. Slides not come up your end, no? Why isn't that working? Sorry, Matt, we should have had a practice this morning.
Can AI help you with this?
Yeah, I wish it could, Jack. I wish it could. Why isn't the second one coming up? All right, we'll do it without the slides. Okay, all right. They wanted to keep you amused while I was talking. You weren't just listening to my voice. So let's stop sharing so that's not distracting. So my goal today is share some stuff to help you get some time back, not by working harder, but by thinking differently. So I'm going to talk about something that's changed the way I work, not in a theoretical way, not in a futurist way, but in a practical, everyday. This is actually saving me hours and quite possibly my sanity way. And as Martin said, that's AI. This is not the part where I tell you robots are taking over or that the toaster is listening, although it probably is. I'm not here to terrify. I'm here to try and give everyone some time back. So if you're volunteering, advising, running teams, dealing with compliance, whatever your day job is, and trying to have a life, I think time is the thing that we're all short of. And the biggest ideas I want you to take away today come from the book, The AI Driven Leader by Jeff Wood. Some of you will have heard me talk about this before. I've got the picture of the book on my slides, but for every reason that wasn't working. But Martin, if you can maybe put the AI Driven Leader link for Amazon in the chat, maybe. If you haven't read it, everyone, get it. It will teach you how to take your AI use to a completely different level. I don't have a sponsorship deal, sadly. So if anyone does know Jeff, feel free to mention me to him, because I'm pretty sure his volume of sales has gone up over the last 6 months. But the big idea and the sentence worth tattooing somewhere is, instead of asking, what do I need to do today? The book says to always ask, what can AI do for me today? And that single question changes everything. Most people see AI as something extra they have to learn, they have to spend a lot of time with, and a lot of people are still just using it for a bit of email copy or a quick chat about where the best restaurant in their area is. But the people who are benefiting most from AI aren't necessarily good at tech, because I'm certainly not. I'm currently without an iPhone because I bought a new iPhone yesterday, and I've got to run into town because I didn't know the SIM cards were dying and you need to order a new SIM, an eSIM or something. So yeah, I'm currently without a phone. So I'm definitely not good at tech, but people are just curious. The people using this well are curious, and they ask the question every day, how can AI help me with this? So today I'm going to show you exactly where it can help. So it can help with everything from emails, messages, marketing, business planning, document drafting, writing a book, Doug, planning, training sessions, client prep, and more importantly, your own thinking time. It will help with the boring stuff that takes hours, the stuff that no one thanks you for, the stuff that you do late at night because it just didn't fit into the day. But it can also help with big picture thinking, presentations, training sessions for your team, and much, much more. Most people use AI. Most people use AI to save minutes. Leaders use AI to save hours repeatedly, not because they're better with tech, but because they think differently. And this is what Jeff calls the identity shift. Not I use AI sometimes, but I am the kind of leader who dedicates to AI first, just like you would to your various team members. So how does this show up in real life? I'm going to give you some examples. I would now be showing you a picture of the Whisper app. Some of you have heard me talk about Whisper before. So my current favorite time-saving AI tool is Whisper, WISPR. It handles a huge amount of my inbox, my WhatsApp messages, my follow-ups, my document creation, GPT requests, meeting summaries, if I've forgotten to press the button for Planner Pal or whatever. And what it means in practice is I'm talking instead of typing. Whisper listens instead of me remembering. It grammarizes and puncturizes. I'm not sure if they're actually words, but it writes for you as you speak. It's the best I've seen at punctuation, at putting your sentences in order if you suddenly stumble over your words. But for me, it's shortening my email length because you start typing as you speak. So you're using shorter emails and you're not overthinking. But it also helps me to think at the same time as I'm responding. Because the thing that drains most of our energies is really the work itself. It's the invisible mental load, remembering what was in the email you just received, thinking what to say and then typing it, then switching between emails and going down to check your progress. Then you're answering all the points the client asked you or the person asked you. Then you're going to another app to check your work or references and so on. Whisper just unloads your brain. You can stop operating like a memory stick and start operating like a leader. You can just read the email, go to something else, then go back and speak a response in seconds. I would have shown you my stats if I could have got the slides to work, but I'm averaging over 200 words a minute. And I'm actually a touch typer. I can actually tap away because of my first job in 192 many years ago. But it's still saving me hours, mainly because my emails are now shorter. I'm not overthinking and I'm not typing and going back and forth. When I need to complete a compliance document, put some notes on my advisor's files after a one-to-one, complete a paper for the PFS board, I can just speak and edit rather than think about each sentence you go and take 20, 30, 40 minutes in typing and editing. It isn't about permission. It isn't about technology. It's about permission. And this is the part no one tells you. For many of us, the barrier is not skill. It's just belief. We are all trained to work hard, carry everything, hold responsibility ourselves, do it properly, which often means do it manually. But Jeff in the book makes it beautifully clear. If you can get AI to get something to 70, 80, 90%, you only need to put the finishing touches to something. You are not delegating quality. You are delegating starting. And I believe once you delegate the starting, your mind is free again and you can get things done much quicker. And that is where the time saving is. This isn't about AI writing for you. It's about AI thinking with you. AI helps you see the signal, not the noise. Following reading the book, we then took the next step, which was game changing for us. We built what is called a thought partner. I would have shown you the highlights of what it looks like. I'll get Martin. I'll share the slides and Martin can share them around. It's a specific bot and my team have put into it all of our core documents, all of our planning frameworks, our tone of voice, our trust explanations, our suitability letter style, our system and process documents, all uploaded, all structured, all available instantly. So when I ask my AI, can you draft me 3 emails to invite clients to a budget briefing? The budget is coming up, guys. If you're not doing a budget briefing and a budget lunch, you're missing a trick, as I said in Miami. So draft me 3 emails to invite clients to a budget briefing using our tone and using different levels of urgency and reason to attend. It'll knock things up in seconds because it knows how we speak. When I say I want us to grow by 40% next year, give me 5 ideas on how to use AI to help me do this. It already has the context. It knows our core values. It knows our vivid vision, our goals, our aims. And when I say to it, turn my notes on trust into a training session for my team, it does it in our format within seconds, in our style and our tone. And that is the difference between generic AI and an AI trained on you. But the biggest win for us, for those of us on this call, can be setting it up to help challenge your thinking. You can have it take on personas before giving an answer. You can create custom bots for marketing, for comms, for letter writing. So we've created a bot where we've put a lot of people talking at the moment about never split the difference. And those of us who are lucky to be at TOT in 2019 saw Chris Voss speak. But now I've put his book into its own bot. And I say we can go in there and say, write me an email for this client who's gone cold on me using Chris Voss's what he talks about in the book about how to get people to take action. And anyone here can build this. You just need to read the book, dedicate at least 15 minutes a day to play with it. And I mean AI, Gaz, when I say play with it. Create a structure, practice and repeat, or hire someone as we did 15, 16 months ago. So I would have shown you a picture of my AI advisory board. One of the most powerful ideas in the AI-driven leader is that you don't use AI to do the work, you use it to think with you. The book talks about building your own AI advisory board. And this is where instead of asking GPT for a generic answer, you ask it to answer as if it were the greatest minds you admire. So you could have Cameron Herald, who I'm sure someone's going to talk about in a minute, was fabulous again at TOT last month. And he would be your business scale and simplicity brain. You could have Will Gadera, who most of us heard speak in Miami, talk about unreasonable hospitality and experience in client experience. You could have Steve Jobs on it, because everyone says Steve Jobs when they do these things. You could have Jeff Woods on it for identity and leadership habits. And my current favorite, Libby Grieve. If you're not following Libby Grieve's stuff and you're not listening to Libby Grieve's podcast, I would strongly recommend it. Grieves is Grieve. And she talks about how to build a fabulous financial service client journey that generates referrals. But what you end up with is perspective on demand and expert insight instantly. So an example prompt you could give GPT is, I'd like to build my AI advisory board. Whenever I ask a question, respond with a panel-style discussion between Cameron Herald, Will Gadera, Steve Jobs, Jeff Woods, Libby Grieve. Each should give their view in their own tone with practical takeaways and end it with a concise summary of recommended action. Now, instead of one answer, you get a strategic view, a persuasion view, a design clarity view, a financial services view, and a leadership habit view in under 10 seconds. This is thinking at scale. This is what separates AI users from AI-driven leaders. Some other examples of daily prompts you could use. Here's my diary for today. Help me prioritize on impact, not urgency. What can be delegated? What should be done by me? Summarize it into a 3-step plan. You could then look at your weekly situation. Here are my goals for this quarter. Here are my tasks for the week. Help me align tasks to goals, remove anything that doesn't matter. And this is how you can avoid drowning in busyness. There are also tool-like fixers that I know some of my team are using. And I know the MDRT family WhatsApp have managed to get Tom to run a session on this. Fixer can help draft emails, schedule follow-ups, manage inbound requests, and it's brilliant for most people. It can take your communication style, replicate your tone, and handle the first draft of hundreds of little daily interactions. And for many, this is transformational. Now, in the spirit of honesty, I don't personally use Fixer right now, not because it isn't good, it's absolutely brilliant, but because my brain runs like a Formula One car on a wet track with bald tires. I haven't had a diagnosis, but I know how I work, and some of you know how I work. My thoughts come fast and the speed is the point. But for me, sometimes writing the email is the thinking, and I need to see the original email first. It's where I process, and Fixer doesn't do that. So I don't outsource that part yet. I know Tom thinks he can train me to work it out, which we're going to look at next week. But many of you should, because if email is something that's draining your time, draining your day, it's brilliant at organising you, letting someone else take the first draft. The message here is pick the tools that fit you. Don't force yourself into someone else's workflow. That's leadership, that's awareness, that's sustainability. So let me show you what happens when you combine AI as a thought partner, AI as a creative assistant, a second brain, and a human who knows his craft. So I was flying home from Vegas last week, 35,000 feet in the air, no desk, no whiteboard, just an idea from TOT that I had at the beginning of the week, the idea to have a book for lottery winners, because we've recently won the Welsh lottery contract. And then there was Carl's talk, but I know someone else is going to cover a bit on how to use AI to write a book. So sorry, Doug, I've written 2 books before, and you're right, you procrastinate. I've now got a 3rd book. So I just asked it, help me write a book. I asked ChatGPT, our thought partner, help me write a book in Penguin style that is titled, So You've Won the Lottery, What Now? I asked it to extract the key themes, risks, emotional dynamics, and decision points that come with winning a large amount of money, turn it into chapter outlines for a book written in our voice. So it then wrote me 10 chapter titles. I took the chapter outlines, and with some prompts, I nicked Carl's prompts as well, and guidance on what I wanted, I wrote a chapter at a time together with AI. In under an hour, Penguin had a full book structure, chapter titles, 10 chapters, a final summary, and I asked it for a workbook at the end for winners to start thinking about the big decisions. What do I want to spend? What do I want to give? Some simple questions. And sorry, Doug, there was no procrastination in that hour, because just once you got into flow, it was bang, bang, bang. And it was 90 to 95% brilliant. Just got to find the time now to do the final 5-10%. But here is the part I want you to hear clearly. AI didn't replace the human, it just accelerated the human. The ideas were mine, the judgment was mine, the intent was mine. AI just helped me express it faster, clearer, and more powerfully. AI didn't create the value, AI helped me to get the value without friction, and now Penguin has its 3rd book. I got some tweaking to do. It's almost there, but for a fraction of the cost we've spent before, and some of you were on that journey with me, we spent a lot of money on getting the first book written. And for the time it took us, it was a massive, massive saving. AI will not replace you, but leaders who know how to think with AI will outperform those who don't, I think we heard someone say in Miami. So the final ideas, I had some students in for work experience before the summer. Whenever any local college or school asks us if they can have kids in for work experience, we always say yes. And we had them create 2 bots for us. One called Craig's Second Brain. So they took all my historic PFS notes, study group notes, MDRT notes from the last 10, 15 years that I've had saved on one of these devices for donkey's years and never get back to looking at. And they created a bot called Craig's Second Brain. They dumped all my conference notes into one place. I can now go into that bot and say, go through and find the best 10 quotes, the 10 best ideas on how to ask for referrals, top 5 ideas on how to grow our business. And it does it in seconds. And then you can rehash and refresh old ideas you haven't acted on and chat back and forth with the bot and keep honing it and honing it. The second one, Craig's Library, where they took all my notes from all the books that I've read over the years and I've typed up the main highlights, never gone back to them in the main. They're now all in one bot and I can have it search some of the greatest books of our time and just ask it, tell me what to do in this situation. What should we do to increase profit next year? And it goes through all those historic notes and gives me a bunch of ideas. This isn't about working smarter. This is about, working smarter, preserving energy, protecting your creativity, staying human, but giving yourself back time to do what matters. This is not about efficiency for efficiency's sake. This is about making sure we all have the energy to keep showing up professionally, personally, and as part of this community. If you start tomorrow with just one question, can AI help me with this? You'll begin giving yourself the gift of time. And I think we all deserve that. Thank you.
Craig, that's absolutely fantastic. If any of us need to kick up the backside on AI, you've just done it. And before we move on, I was just listening to the radio this morning, and they said the waiting list for ADHD consulting with the NHS is now 8 years. So I think you just got to live with your ADHD, Craig. You're doing just fine with ADHD, but that was bloody awesome, that was. Anyway, moving on. So the final piece really for data, the last 20 minutes or so. For those that are not aware, there was a group of UK advisors that were out in in Scottsdale, Arizona, at what is called Top of the Table, which is the highest achieving advisors in the MDRT community globally. That's not, well, it is about productivity, but they're only producing because these people are great advisors, and you can only earn good money in this profession if you do a great job for your clients. So we've got a number of people come back from Scottsdale who are going to just spend 5 minutes talking about what their takeaways were from Scottsdale, so that you didn't have to go. All I would say is go to the annual conference, and maybe one day you'll go to TOT as well. So without further ado, we've got a lineup of 4, and we're going to kick off first of all with Mr. Gary Metcalf. Over to you, Gary.
Good morning, everyone. So again, TOT was in a beautiful location, Scottsdale, great speakers. Some we'd seen before at previous meetings, but by seeing them again, you always pick up something else from them. So I thought I'd share a few ideas from several speakers. The first one was Ben Nemtin. He's spoken before, but this year we spoke about the same subject, was how to create your own bucket list and help clients create a bucket list for themselves. So ask yourself this question, and also ask your clients, what do you want to do before you die? If you could do anything, what would you do? When you help clients live their best life, it impacts them and their family. Get interested in clients' dreams and check in with them, see how they're getting on with their dreams. At the end of their life, they don't regret the things they did, but the ones they didn't do. And Paul Cleworth from Tandem Financial, we've spoken on this before at one of our Zoom calls. And if you have a look at his website, it has a bucket list on there. So if you want some ideas on how to create a bucket list for yourself, and clients, then have a look at Paul's website. It's really good. So we're going to do our own bucket list at Gemini and use that with clients. Next was Ryan Stamrud, we've seen before in a focus session in Boston. He's an ultra extreme ice swimmer, great speaker. He talked about push past the impossible. So are you setting goals beyond you think is impossible? You learn so much when you step out of your comfort zone. The human mind is the gateway to absolute greatness. When you stop learning, you get taken over by somebody else. So never stop learning. We all have an excuse mechanism. It's so easy to find excuses not to do something, isn't it? And we all use those, I think, on a regular basis. MDRT speaks, who again had a deeper dive. Alison Thorne, she spoke about sanity and success in business. She said, stop multitasking. Multitasking was designed for computers, not people. Concentrate on doing one thing and one thing only. Replace multitasking with doing one thing at a time, just in rapid succession. Keep what waters your soul and give the rest away. So give it to your staff, trash it, give it to technology, give it to automation, and be clear to clients on how you operate. Be authentic, and you will attract people and repel others. Choose the ones you want to work with, and don't be afraid to reject the others you do not want to work with. And she said a great quote: the power of the pen puts the money where it needs to be when it needs to be there, which I thought was a great quote for selling life insurance. Camel Herald, as Craig said, we've seen him many times, but he's great value, Craig, Cameron is, and Craig also. He talked about growing your people, which means growing your company. Grow the skills of your people. It's our job to get results through others. Hire people who want to learn, and grow staff in two areas. One is skills and one is confidence. Hire self-driven learners. Create a culture of learning in your business and handcuff your best staff. Otherwise, they'll be pinched by somebody else. And then I didn't go to this session. Tracy Hank gave a focus session on non-verbal and delivery skills. Kath told me about her body language talk, and also Ross. So when you're standing opposite somebody, stand with your feet level with your shoulders, width apart, level with your shoulders. Once you've done your hand gestures, put your hands by your side to a neutral position. And those of you who have Teams calls or Zoom calls with your staff, make sure they keep their video on. Research has shown that the ones on a call that switch their video off learn 30% less, because guess what? They're doing something else instead of listening. And I know Ross does team calls all the time. He says he's definitely going to implement that now. So I think any of you that have team calls, Zoom calls with staff, make sure they keep their video on. That's it for me.
Thank you, Gary. Awesome. Just keep pushing this on. Next up, Craig McClurg.
Well, I mean, that's a tough act to follow, isn't it? Craig Palfrey and Gary Metcalf, all followed previously by Doug. So I will do my best. Gary, thank you for leaving us one or two comments to share with the rest of the UK. It was in a beautiful location, as Gary said. There were some amazing speakers. It was put together really well. My first big learn from it was that if somebody tells you that the little mountain right behind the hotel is quite easy to hike up, they were lying. It was really tough, but luckily I had Carla to make sure that I didn't chicken out and go home. You know, so it's always nice to have somebody by your side driving you on, which was hugely appreciative, even though I didn't show it at the time. But look, in all seriousness, I want to pick up on something. You know, we all take different things from when we go to these places. and Gary's mentioned quite a few, but I want to just touch on something that Doug mentioned, which was, the book is the business card that never gets thrown away. I'll hold my hand up, and Simon's not on the call. Simon and I have had writing a book on our sort of our to-do list or not now list, depending on how you look at it, probably for 3 to 4 years, if not longer. And we just haven't got around to it because we've been too busy doing other things. It suddenly becomes less important. So I went to Carl Harty's session, and Carl has written, I don't know, is it 30, 40, 50 books from that point of view, used AI. And on his main platform session, he just sowed the seed, as a lot of these guys do, about how you could write a book using AI, how it could be super quick. In an hour's focus session, I think it was about 80 or 90% of the room had written a book. Okay, he gave all the prompts, he gave all the ways to do it. I think Craig's comment about personalizing it is hugely important. So when I say there was a book written, I've spent 4 or 5 years putting off writing a book, and in 40, 50 minutes, I had one written. But yes, the other 5, 10, 15% would need to be adapted. So definitely something worth doing, forced us to really review things. And we now have a session into to sort of write a suite of books that we've been meaning to do. So AI's changed the world there. That said, the funniest thing about that session, for those of you who were in it, is that there was an MDRT member from India, I believe he was from, who asked a question at the end asking if Carl would be his AI mentor. And Carl let him down really gently. It was really, look, that's not what I do. AI will help you. There'll be somebody more local. And then the guy went to the stage at the end and followed it up and offered to pay him to do it, which you should have seen Carl's picture. It was an absolute picture. It was brilliant. His face, sorry, was an absolute picture. So that amused me greatly, if I'm honest. Takeaway number 2, not sure how I'm doing for time, Martin, but I'm sure you'll cut me off when I need to be. The MDRT Academy. I don't know how many of your businesses have new young advisors, and I'm going to link this to Cameron Herald, and Craig's touched on it with regards to training our people. Gary touched on it, sorry. The MDRT Academy is a wealth of information. We have 2 relatively new advisors, one who thinks they know it all and the other one who's like a sponge and wants to learn. And both of them are going to actually spend time in the academy and learning. And it's a resource that I think gets overlooked. And it was brought by the committee to be shared with TOT members. So I thought that was really good. Cameron Herald, always good value. If you're not going to spend time growing your people, then get them out, because you're really wasting your time. Have the ones that want to learn, as Gary said. And he talked about just-in-time learning, not just-in-case learning. And he related that to someone within his business who would always learn and would always want to, but they weren't just doing it for the sake of it. And the final thing that I thought was a couple of final things from Cameron was he talked about AI not being your biggest threat. You are. Okay, and it was a fairly blunt comment to say, actually, if you don't actually want to step up and deal with this stuff, then it's not AI, it's you that's letting yourself down. And as Gary touched upon, it's all about training your team. We all get busy, we all, running at 100 miles an hour, doing things, Carla's surprised I run at 100 miles an hour, but I do. And then, he talks about what if you train, because he said the obvious question is, what if you train your team and they leave? And he said, what if you don't train them and they stay? And I thought that was really powerful, a really powerful comment. But finally, the most inspirational talk of the week for me was Steph Reed, Paralympian, lost a leg, and just with an adaptive mindset, just basically, I thought blew us away with regards to, Doug's mentioned the E plus R equals O, experience plus the response equals outcome, which I know we've all heard before and many of us live by. This girl basically had a sort of life-changing injury and has turned it out to be a successful Olympian, successful speaker. She had a man chaser, a really good-looking guy chaser to be his boyfriend, be her boyfriend for about 5 years, I think it was. So she was talented enough to keep him on the hook. So she had all these skills and abilities, and she talked about something called the adaptive mindset, which was about embracing change, reframing challenges, the courage and experimentation, resilience, and leveraging unique perspectives, which was basically bringing your unique perspective and experience to the table to foster innovation. So try and turning adversity into opportunity. So look, I think Martin's touched on it. Join, get yourself to MDRT annual meeting, and then at some point, you want to come to TOT, because it really does just give you a wealth of opportunity for you to soak it all up from.
Craig, thank you for being so prompt and on time. And we want to keep. Thank you for being brilliant there, by the way. We've got 10 minutes left, so let's make the most of it. Nick Swartout, up to you now. Nick, you
No,
on?
Nick pulled out. Matt. Nick was one of the ones who pulled out.
Okay, he's one. Okay, that means that Ian Battersby has got almost 10 minutes, which is perfect for Ian. You're on, Ian.
Mate, there's nobody on this call called Ian Battersby. There's no S in my name. So you're not the first person to have done that, I can assure you. Right, can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me? Because I'm still in McDonald's. Right, so I've still got a couple of things that no one else has mentioned, because lots of people have been through a lot of this stuff. But it was my first time, as some of you know, it's my first year in MDRT, and it was my first top of the table, obviously. And the best thing of all from the whole thing is that they feed you at top of the table. So we were very well fed, and there's lots of situations in there where you get introduced to other people, lots of opportunities for networking, and it's sort of much more focused. If anyone's been to the main MDRT meeting, the focus at the TOT one is much closer, and you kind of meet a lot more people in a lot more structured way. The first great idea that I came away with was that was just how much better I can do. Really, I was surrounded by people who have done a whole lot better than me over a period of time, and so just listening to those people was inspiring and a bit humbling as well, really. But idea number one that I've got written down here is there was a guy who organised a thing called Woodstick, which was a drumming charity thing that his round table did to try and raise money for polio. And the title of his session was just called Just Ask. And basically, by just asking some people, we ended up getting some of the world's greatest drummers and broke a record for the most people drumming at one event. And they raised millions of dollars to try and eradicate polio in the States. You can actually look it up. Woodstick. It's quite inspiring if you like your music. Everybody's mentioned Cameron Herod or Herald, and I've just got a few notes here that we took and then stuck through our AI bots. But key problems that he identified were most businesses don't grow their people; they're trying to grow the business all the time, and they end up with a lack of clarity on essential leadership skills. CEOs will overdevelop themselves but neglect their teams. Smaller firms tend to lack proper training infrastructure, and managers are too busy doing work instead of growing people. And he described employees' growth as climbing two ladders at the same time, one for skills and one for confidence. I think Craig touched on that. And it's important that you don't get too far ahead in one without catching up with the other one. He defined 12 key skills that every manager should master. And if you think about this in your own business that you're running, I'm willing to bet that most of us have never been trained on this, but he's listed situational leadership, coaching, running effective meetings, interviewing and hiring, delegation, project management, time management, and conflict management. And I ended up running a business just by being an advisor who needed some staff and some people to pick up the slack for me. And I've tried to build up from there. I've never had literally a minute's training on any of those things. He talks about building a learning culture. I think it was Craig that mentioned if you don't pay for that employee to do that, somebody else will. He mentioned I've got a couple of younger staff, and I do struggle with them sometimes. They're great, but they've got a very different attitude to the one that I've got. But younger generations, Gen Y, Gen Z, will remain loyal when they see progress in their career and their personal growth. They value purpose, culture, and learning opportunities more than long-term job stability. And so he said, show me your calendar and your bank account. He emphasized that investment in people is proven to yield exponential returns. companies should invest at least 1% of payroll or £750 per person annually in training and professional development. What if we train them and they leave? As someone else touched on, what if you don't train them and they stay? So I think everybody else all the other bits I've got written on here have been mentioned. I too went to Carl Hartley's session, and there was a chap called Brian Haney who was the marketing guru who did a session a couple of days before. Brian happened to be sat next to me. He is, as he says, full on ADHD, and I think Carl's original talk was called ideas from the bathroom or ideas from the toilet or something. And this guy decided to take this being in the toilet this being the toilet concept and turn it into a book while we were in the room. So my notes that I recorded are filled with a load of laughter from me and him cracking up. But he wrote a whole book on marketing based around the theme of marketing ideas from the bathroom they'd had in the toilet with a cover, with everything else, all done in whatever it was, a 45, 50-minute session. And I was just absolutely blown away. So on the way back, I like Craig, I did my book on the plane. So I think one of the things from Cameron Herald's session was there's a link, which obviously he was there to sell something, but he said he wasn't, which he would say, which is invest in your people. There's a link which I think Craig or Martin will send round. Carl's slides are available as well. So hopefully there's a couple of takeaways in there. But I think everything else I've got written down, everybody else has covered already.
Thanks, Ian. Brilliant. Timing has been impeccable by everybody today. Just to round this all off, I've had a few embryonic ideas of book writing over the years, and I've just put them in the notes in my phone. Just for a bit of reference here, I've already written 7 books, but there's an idea that I wanted to talk about which plays out to Ben Nemptin's talk in Arizona and I wasn't even there. So I've got my book prompt generator working away in the background right now, and 24% of this book on achieving your bucket list is being produced. So when that is produced, all I'm going to have to do is proofread it, tidy it up, and I'll get it published. So if you are going to be in Anaheim next year, expect me to come armed with a few copies of my book on achieving your bucket list. And with that, that's just about it, folks. It's 2 minutes to 9. Don't want to take up any more of your time because I know it's incredibly valuable. Have a great rest of the year. I won't be seeing you, but I do plan to be back. I'm not going to disappear into the Southern Ocean and never reappear. So I look forward to catching up with you all again in the new year. Have a great rest of the year. Thank you.
Martin, have a great time in South Africa. And
thanks, Martin.
Good luck, Martin.
See you all. Good luck.
Cheers all.